Hello everyone, welcome to Spice It Up Cooking Club, brought to you by the Perry County Public Library and me, Miss Jessie Chandler, the Children's Youth Services Librarian. And today we are going to make Mediterranean salad. And this is a recipe that I've actually made for a few years, and it's through the UK Extension Office. And you can find this online, but we're going to talk about it now. This is one of those recipes that you can use just basically any fresh produce that you have. It's really good, it's really refreshing. The best way I can describe it, it tastes like pasta salad without the pasta. So this calls for 2 large tomatoes, and what I've done is I've already started on my vegetables. I did half of them. So we're going to take our tomato and we are just going to chunk it up. Now you can do this any way that you want. All of these vegetables have already been pre-washed because we always want to wash our vegetables because of food safety. And you can do that with a little bit of vinegar. You can do that with just water. It's however you want to do it. And if you've got tomatoes, cherry tomatoes on hand, yellow tomatoes, it really doesn't matter what type of tomatoes you use. It just says 2 large tomatoes. And you can just cut them up about salsa chunky size or a little bit bigger. It depends on how you like it. Now remember, we always want to be careful. Especially when we're using a knife, we always want to watch where we place our fingers, because that's something we don't want to do. We don't want to chop our fingers. We just want to chop the vegetables. Or if you've got a little food processor, you could put them in there and chunk it up. If you've got one of those little things like a slap chop, you could do that. Just any way you want to do it. And if you do cherry tomatoes, you could cut your cherry tomatoes into 4ths, into halves. It's whatever size you like it to be. I am very much a tomato person. But if you don't like tomatoes, you do not have to put it in this recipe. So it calls for 2 large tomatoes, chunked up. 1 bell pepper, chunked up. I've already done half. I've got an orange one. You can use green, you could use red, use yellow. You could even use the little sweet peppers. And if you want a little bit of a kick, you could add in like 1 hot pepper, like a jalapeno. Now remember, if you're going to use a jalapeno though, I do suggest you get gloves because you don't want to cut your eyes afterwards, because the oil from jalapenos will burn, very much so. And you want to watch where your fingers are placed. And you can do these into, I find it's easier to cut your peppers into strips and then line them up. And then go back and chop them down. So, that's about the size of a fingernail. Size of a dime. You might have to go back and cut a little more if you don't think you made it through. Next, we need 1 medium-sized yellow squash. And what I do is I cut them in half, and then I cut them into 3rds. So, they're kind of into strips. I lay them down, and I just go through and chop up. So, 2 tomatoes, 1 bell pepper, 1 medium yellow squash, 1 medium zucchini. I cut the ends off, and we're going to do just like the yellow squash. Cut in half and then cut it into 3rds. Or if you want to have fun with this and you have a vegetable spiralizer at the house, you can make zucchini noodles and yellow squash noodles, put in that to make it look all kinds of cool. Remember to wash your fingers. And remember, all of our vegetables have been pre-washed. I used a colander and washed them in the sink, along with washing my hands. And remember, while we're cooking, we don't want to touch our face. Don't want to touch our hair. Next, we need 1 red onion. And I already have this cut in half. What I do is I cut the ends off, and then I just kind of follow the lines and cut, and I hold them together at each end. Onions can be a little bit tricky, so you might want to take these a little bit at a time, and they can be slick. I've probably cut myself more cutting onions than I have any other vegetable. And you can go back through and you can chunk down as little or as big as you want. I do mine about the size that I would put on a hot dog, just because that's the size that I like. And I just flicked a piece of red onion all the way over here, which is fine. I have this clean. So we have 2 large tomatoes. We have a bell pepper, a red onion, a yellow squash, and a zucchini. And just in case that you don't like what's in there, or if you want to do extra, corn is a really good option. And this is just raw corn. You can even put canned corn, frozen corn if you got it thawed out. And as you can see, my thing was slipping a little bit, so you want to be very careful. And then you can pick out if there's any silk. And I had already done 1 ear of corn in there, so this is like 2 ears of corn, because they were smaller ears. And just because I like it, cucumber. Now you can peel your cucumber, you can leave the skin on, it's okay. I would run it under some hot water though that gets the wax off of it. And we're going to do that just like the yellow squash and the zucchini. We're cutting it into half and then we're cutting it into thirds. And this smells so good. This is one of those recipes, it's anything that you get from your garden, farmer's market, grocery store. It's a good way to use up some fresh vegetables if you're afraid they're going to go bad. And it goes a really long way. As you can see, look how much we've got in that bowl. Now, I know you're probably thinking, well, that's a lot of vegetables, Miss Jessie, but what are we going to put in there to kind of flavor them other than their natural flavors? Well, we've got dried basil, or you can use fresh basil. And what you're going to do is you're going to use 2 teaspoons, that's the next to the biggest one, of dried basil. And I just put that all over, because we're going to stir this up too. Or if you have a lid for your container, you can put the lid on and then shake it, which is what I like to do. We might add just a little bit extra because I added some extra vegetables, so I'm just going to put that in there. Now we're going to use freeze-dried garlic, but you can use fresh garlic, you can use squeezed garlic, you can use minced garlic, and it calls for 2 cloves. So I'm going to do about 3 teaspoons, because I like a lot of garlic. And where this is freeze-dried, it'll take up the moisture content, because the liquid we're going to use is zesty Italian dressing. You can use whatever Italian dressing you want. You can actually use ranch dressing on this. It's whatever flavor you like. But I'm going to use this. And it calls for 1/2 cup, where we've got a little bit more vegetables in there. I'm going to use 3/4 of a cup. And it smells good. It sounds a little funny, but it smells good. So we've got this. And if you like a lot of Italian, feel free to put as much as you want. So we've got this. I'm just going to use my knife to mix it up. This is one of those ones that you can let sit overnight in the fridge. You can let it sit together just to chill and for it to marinate and for all the flavors to get together. And then it says to add in crumbled cheese. I will tell you, if you do the crumbled cheese and you put it in there, the cheese takes on the liquidy form of the oil and vinegar. So it changes colors, it gets a little mushy. My suggestion is if you're going to serve this, let them dip out what they want and have a bowl set separate with the cheese crumbles in it, and that way they can top it with cheese as they go. And this smells divine. It smells so good. But like I said, this is very much a pasta salad recipe without the pasta. It's something that the kids can help with. This is something adults can help with. It's just chop and put together with all the vegetables that you have on hand. It goes good with some grilled food. This would be really nice if you're doing burgers or steaks outside. And it's just a good little side dish. Well, I hope that you guys like today's recipe, and I hope that you try it, because does that not look so good? So, bye everybody. Thanks for watching.